Okay, so maybe not factually correct, but this surely is what's going to happen next between this ongoing saga between Red Bull, Christian Horner, Jos Verstappen, Max Verstappen, Helmut Marko, Toto Wolff, and some girl who apparently got to see his teeny weeny and some WhatsApp messages. I just don't know what's going on anymore. I just don't know what's going on. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and yes, it's time once again to talk about Formula 1, or as we like to call it around here these days, EastEnders. Yes, every time I see Formula 1 come up now, I'm just waiting for the EastEnders theme to start playing, yeah. Ding, 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 ding. What drama's going to happen this week in F1, lads and lasses? Well, this happened and then this happened and then he stuck that in there and she went, oh no, don't stick that in there. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know what's going on in Formula 1. All I do know is that the on-track action is absolutely bloody awful. Absolutely bloody awful. And thankfully we got a little bit of this drama off scene. Otherwise it's going to be a completely boring fucking season. Well, it is already, but it's going to be even more boring. So all I say is bring on the more Christian Horner gossip, because it's the only thing worth talking about. Anyway. So yes, Christian Horner, it's rumbling on and on and on, despite the fact that Christian is trying his level best to bury this story underneath the patio. He really is trying to get it underneath the patio and just bury it for good. Yeah, he's got the cement down, he's trying to lay it down, but it's just not working, Christian. It's just not working. Every time you go to an interview, all anybody wants to know is everything about Christian Horner. That press conference with all the other team bosses, or some of them anyway. Alpine was there, wasn't he? And some of the others. That press conference was just an absolute bloody disastrous shit show. It really was. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I just loved how Mike Crack, he had his microphone in his hand for 10 minutes and he put it down and he looked across the Alpine boss as if to say, well, we're not going to get asked any questions today, so we'll just sit here for 30 minutes and twiddle our thumbs. In the end, the interviewer had to stop everyone's questions to actually just ask Mike Crack a question. And what was it about? Oh, the F1 Academy. International Women's Day as well. Oh, my God. Well done, lads. Well done. Makes me proud to be a man. Not really, no. So yes, there we go. Christian Horner, the saga continues. Helmut Marko apparently said in an interview that he was expecting to get sacked, and then 30 minutes later he came back and said, no, it's alright, I'm alright, yeah, I'm still here. I may be 80 years old, but my contract is solid. I'm not very solid, I could be dead by tomorrow, but my contract is sound and I will be staying here. Fuck's sake. I just don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. What is going on with Formula 1? I don't know. Anyway, so this is the ongoing saga between Christian Horner and apparently these leaked WhatsApp messages, which everyone was saying a couple of days ago that it was actually Helmut Marko that leaked these messages. No, it wasn't. No, EastEnders, stop it now. This wasn't him. No, nothing to do with that. It was something entirely different. Yes. Now, what is this doing for Red Bull? Well, for Max Verstappen, absolutely nothing, because in the race he won clearly 10 seconds, I think it was in the end, ahead of Sergio Perez. So for Max Verstappen, he really doesn't give a shit what's going on. He really does not give a shit what is going on off the track, because he's doing his job on it. And I have to say, Sergio Perez is doing a bloody good job as well as the number 2. Yes, a number 2 driver. He is definitely getting the job done as well. So well done to Sergio Perez. So at the moment, Red Bull, they're doing the job. They're doing the job. Unfortunately for us, as a viewer, once again, it's a job which is absolutely boring us to death. Yes, it really is, because that race at Jeddah was worse than Bahrain, definitely. I'd give it a 2 out of 10 for entertainment value. Thank God I've only got the highlights. Thank God. Seriously though, Channel 4, can you start doing highlights of the highlights, because it's too long. I can't even last 45 minutes. That's what she said. But I can't. Fuck. I'm not cutting that. I'm doing this in one take, so shut up. But anyway, I can't even last 45 minutes watching these Grand Prix. Honestly, after 10 minutes, I fell asleep. I fell asleep for 20 minutes, which seems to be the norm. I don't know why. And then I woke up for the last bit. Did I rewind the bit that I missed? No, I didn't. So I really can't tell you much about what happened during the Grand Prix, but I did catch up and see exactly what happened afterwards with everyone there, placings and what have you. So I did my due diligence. I just fell asleep again. Yes, while the race was on, because it was such an exciting race. It really was, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. But I would like to say a special mention to our new super sub, and that is Oliver Bearman, who absolutely astounded me, not for the fact of his performance, but his voice when he started talking, because I knew before he started talking, I've never seen Oliver Bearman or seen him being interviewed before, because I don't follow F2, but I understood that he came from Essex. Now, Essex talks a little bit like me. Not much, because I don't come from Essex, nah, but a little bit like me. That's the old Essex twang, you know, a little bit like that, only a little bit worse than that. Yeah, if you've ever seen, like, the programmes in the UK about Essex, The Only Way is Essex, you'll know exactly how they speak, yeah. And then Oliver Bearman came on, and I was shocked. I was like, what the hell's that? What kind of accent? Honestly, he sounded Norwegian. To me, he sounded like he had a Norwegian twang to his accent. Now, I must do some research after making this video and see exactly what the situation is there. But yeah, he definitely did not sound like an Essex lad. 100% definitely not an Essex lad. But he comes from Essex. So yeah, I'll do some research and find out exactly what the situation is there with Oliver Bearman. But I have to say, he is now the new super sub. We used to call, was it Hulkenberg super sub? We've got to reserve that now for Oliver Bearman, because what a job he did. Of course, we had Carlos Sainz, the smooth operator. Yes, unfortunately, very unwell, literally pooing out of his nose during the practice sessions. Literally, it was coming out of all his orifices, coming out of his ears apparently as well. That's how sick he was. But the trooper that he is, he carried on going, because he just thought he had a stomach bug. And, you know, like what happens when you got a stomach bug, you try to get through it and you try to carry on, don't you? So that's what he thought he had. He was even going to go in for free practice 3, but he started to feel very unwell. So he had to go to the hospital, and that's when they found out he had appendicitis. Yes, and his appendix had to be removed. And by Christ, wasn't that appendix removed very, very quickly. I'm sorry, but if that was in the UK, okay, he would still be on the waiting list for at least another 3 months. Doesn't matter how much pain he would have been in either. He'd still be waiting for that right now. Yes. So congratulations for Carlos Sainz for getting possibly the best Medicare package that money can buy at Ferrari, because bloody hell, that was quick. And also, congratulations to Carlos, who had a very successful, well, he did have a very successful operation on his appendix, which I believe was removed because it was very badly inflamed. This is a condition that happens to people in their 20s and 30s. Thankfully, once you get a little bit older, usually what happens is the appendix actually starts to shrivel, and it doesn't usually cause any problems. Some people can get problems with the appendix in their 50s, like me, but it's not really that common, but it is very common in people in their 20s and 30s. And of course, Carlos, being a supreme sportsman as well, he pushes his body to the limits. So yeah, he's got an appendix in there, or he had an appendix in there that was very, very red, very full of blood and very angry, and it decided just before Jeddah to start working properly and cause him immense pain. And of course, one of the side effects is, I won't go into the side effects, but you can imagine what that is, because that is basically a part of your stomach. Yes. And so, yeah, yes. That's as vivid as I'm going to get on YouTube. That's as vivid as I'm going to get, but that's what happens. So yes, he went at his operation and he was back. I don't know if he was watching the race. I think he was, though. He was back watching the race. Unbelievable. Well done to Carlos Sainz. That is absolutely superb to have a recovery that quick, but obviously that was done through the best care that Ferrari's plan can get out of them. You know, Medicare, that's going to be absolutely brilliant. You know, he was in a private hospital, although I do believe it was the local hospital at Jeddah, but it's probably still a private hospital, and it's probably, you know, worth millions of pounds, and he got it done very, very quick. And congratulations to Carlos Sainz. Hopefully he'll be back for Australia in 2 weeks' time. There is a slight reservation that Oliver Bearman may be back in Australia, but if he is, I think that will be his last race at the moment in Formula One, because Carlos should be fully recovered in time for the next Grand Prix after that. But I say that's it from Oliver Bearman, but of course he's now on the super sub list. So if anyone happens to have a problem in Formula One over the next year, don't forget, of course, 24 races in total. So there's plenty of opportunity for someone to have something wrong. They could get, very sick, or they could have an injury, which, throughout 24 races is more likely to happen. And then Oliver Bearman, the super sub, could go into that car because he's now used to a Formula One car, which he certainly wasn't as he was about to do the race. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Now, for anyone who thinks, oh yeah, but he drives F2s, so it's not going to make much difference. No, an F2 car is absolutely nothing like an F1. If you just look at the dials on the steering wheel compared to an F2 car, it's basically like driving your bin lorry in the UK. That's your F2 car. And then, of course, you've got this, technological beast full of switches and dials. I mean, I doubt whether he would even have known what all the switches did. So I think the team would probably have cold trickled him into that race, and just said, just go out there and drive the car. Just drive the car. That's exactly what he did. Setup wise, he only had practice free to get a setup, so I doubt very much if he managed to refine a setup. Ferrari probably went for a default setup, which for anyone who plays the F1 games would have been setup free default. That's probably what Ferrari gave him for the race, because he would not in 1 hour have been able to fine tune a setup. And of course, don't forget, if you're a Formula One driver, you can do that process a lot quicker because you're constantly doing practice sessions. He hasn't done a practice session until practice free, so he had just 1 hour to try and set up that car. It was probably just a little bit off default, but it was probably pretty close to default. So I have to say, his qualifying session, his poor dad, I mean, that was the best constipation face I've ever seen in all my life. Yes, he should be put on every packet of All Brand right now, because he was like, he almost chucked out Lewis Hamilton, which would have caused which Lee McKenzie pointed out on the Channel 4 coverage, and that would have caused huge embarrassment considering Lulu's going there next year. Huge embarrassment. But he didn't. But he did qualify in 11th place, which I think is a fantastic achievement from an 18-year-old to get into a Formula One car, which I understand he hasn't driven a Formula One car before at all. He is in an F2, so there'll be no opportunity for him to start, going into F1 cars. So that is a massive achievement. I mean, if that was me, if I was 18 years old going straight into an F1 car, I would have David Coultharded it straight into the wall coming out of the pits. That's what I would have done. Oh, whoopsie. Sorry, everyone. Sorry, mechanics. I know you've got to be up all night now repairing it, but I don't care. That would have been me. So he did really, really well to get 11th place. And in the race, he finished in 7th position, which is absolutely fan-bloody-tastic. So well done to Oliver Bearman for finishing in 7th place in that race. A fine debut, and he's got nothing to be ashamed of, finishing in 7th place in a Ferrari. As I say, just 1 hour of practice. I mean, it's just incredible. Really is incredible. Those F1 cars are very complicated machines. These days, anyway, they used to be simple, but these days they're very complicated machines. So that's a great achievement for Oliver Bearman. So well done to Oliver. And in fact, I have to say, it gave a sort of talking point away from the Christian Horner saga for other people to talk about this, because it gave a little bit of excitement, and I was very happy to see that. Otherwise, we would have been just doing the Christian Horner, and it's just such a shame that Channel 4 and I suppose all the others as well, they have to go straight to this story every time their show comes on air. I mean, David Coulthard was there this weekend as well, and you could see the look in his face. He was just like, because obviously he is a very loyal, man to Red Bull, because he drove for Red Bull, so he's going to be very loyal to them. So he's not going to say anything out of turn, but he must be thinking to himself, come on, this is enough now. We've really got to get past this. But unfortunately, until the truth comes out, and this is what everyone wants, they just want the truth to come out, to be honest. What actually happened and what have you. Until that happens, no one's going to be content, and no one is going to leave Christian Horner alone. It's a sad fact, but we want to know the truth, and until we get that truth, every time he's going to be asked a question, there's going to be another question from someone else, and it's going to be about this situation once again. And that's going to haunt him all the way through the rest of this season. And as I've said in previous videos, the problem is Christian Horner wasn't cleared. The case was only dismissed. He wasn't cleared. And as I saw a lady lawyer on Twitter said, there's a world of difference between that. And as I've said in a previous video, that's the problem. He hasn't been exonerated. It hasn't been reversed round and everyone said, no, actually that was complete rubbish. So there's this element of doubt which is going to follow Christian Horner around all season. Then after that, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, what's happening internally in Red Bull is they're imploding. Externally, everything's fine. Max is fine. He's driving the car. That's all he's got to do. Lovely jubbly. But internally, they're getting ready to explode. And I just don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. All I do know is the situation has been handled appallingly. Absolutely appallingly. The way it was done is just mind-boggling. From such a big international company worth millions and millions of pounds, that they've decided on a result like this, and the way they've put it across to everyone like this has left everyone in complete doubt, and nobody knows what's going on, and that is the problem. But anyway, getting off that, the rest of the race was pretty boring. Lewis Hamilton, oh dear, he's not doing well in that McLaren. I bet he probably wishes he was in one. He's not doing very well in that Mercedes, is he? Really isn't. Lando did quite well, I have to say, in his McLaren. That's what I was just thinking of, Lando Norris. And of course, Oliver Pastry was also doing quite well. But unfortunately, I mean, it just looks like this is going to be the norm. And the only action we're going to see is from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, maybe 9 and 10. I mean, I'd just like to say another congratulations to Daniel Ricciardo for doing absolutely appallingly. Well done, Daniel. Hopefully you'll continue with that in that vein for the rest of the season. Yes, because I didn't agree what happened last week in Bahrain with Yuki Tsunoda, and I just thought it was someone blowing their chest out and basically saying, I'm a more experienced driver than you, so get out of the way. And I didn't agree with that whatsoever. And Yuki's just quietly he wasn't quiet last week, but he's quietly now just getting on with the job of beating Daniel Ricciardo. So I hope that it will continue for the rest of the season. Yes. And then possibly the smiling assassin won't be smiling for much longer. Yes. Terrible performance from Daniel Ricciardo once again. The rest of the race, as I say, it was pretty average. You can't imagine these are going to be on Sky Sports in 20 years. Can you class as classic Grand Prix? Let's look at the 2024 Classic Grand Prix. Yeah. As someone else pointed out on Twitter, I can't believe they said that Sky Sports actually got 7 minutes of highlights out of the race, because it's on YouTube and it's 7 minutes long. So there you go. That just shows you how boring the race was. And unfortunately, with the developments which are static, there's not going to be any change for this year whatsoever. So all the cars that are finishing in the order they're finishing now are going to be pretty much the same at the end. And that's going to continue through 2025 as well. Only 2026 we're going to see this big change. The trouble is, I think everyone's going to have nodded off by then. Everyone in Formula 1 is going to have nodded off. It's just... Anyway, that's a story I've already brought up about how F1 needs to change drastically, and I'm not going to go into it now because otherwise I'll be rambling on for another hour or whatever. Anyway, so there you go. That's my very, very quick review of the race, which there's nothing else you can say about it, is it? Max Verstappen. Well done, Max. Well done indeed. Another victory on the scoreboard. Another trophy in the cabinet. And I'm pretty sure he's probably going to get about 20 of those by the end of the season. I still say that he's not going to win every race. It's going to be pretty impossible, because surely there's going to be some kind of mechanical failure. But you know, the cars are pretty bulletproof as well, and that's of course is an offset of the developments being frozen. And of course, you know, they managed to factor in reliability as the years go on. If you're not actually changing anything, then the cars get more and more reliable. And unfortunately for us, that's more and more boring, because we're all sitting there waiting for a car to fail. You know, it'd be great if we had a Max Verstappen engine failure with all smoke coming out the back. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen. I really don't. Anyway, so that was the Jeddah Grand Prix. The only cheesy thing about it was Christian Horner once again. But anyway, that was the cheesy Grand Prix. There's nothing else I can say. Yeah, I've been nearly 20 minutes. I've been 20 minutes here talking about absolutely nothing. Well, that's nothing unusual for me. But there you go. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. You've been awesome as always. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Christian Horner, F1 in general, anything you like. Just send me a message. And obviously, as you know, I always answer all the messages, providing YouTube lets me see them. I always answer all the messages, so, you know, get back to me, and we'll just see how this season pans out. But at the moment, it's not looking good. I will be back, of course, for a review of the race in Australia. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit more exciting, but I just don't know. I just really don't know. Anyway, that's all for me. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. You've been awesome as always. And I'll catch you in the next video.